My coach told everyone his player was faking a concussion, then forced him to keep playing while 40 parents watched. My brother Caleb hit the ground so hard during the third quarter that I heard the impact from the bleachers. Caleb was our team's starting linebacker, and he'd been going for a tackle when the other team's running back lowered his helmet at the last second. Crown of his helmet went straight into Caleb's face mask. I was 15 and sitting with my best friend Whitney in the student section, but I jumped up immediately. Caleb stayed down for maybe 5 seconds before trying to get up, but his legs weren't working right. He got to his knees and just froze there, swaying slightly like a building about to fall. The ref threw his arms up in an X to signal injury timeout, and everyone in the stadium went quiet. Coach Brennan jogged onto the field with his clipboard, not the athletic trainer. Miss Holloway, our trainer, was supposed to evaluate any player who got hit in the head, but Coach waved her off before she could even leave the bench. He crouched down next to Caleb, and I could see him talking, probably asking the standard questions. From the bleachers, it looked like Caleb was answering, but I noticed his eyes kept drifting to the side like he couldn't quite focus. Coach stood up after maybe 30 seconds and signaled to the ref that his player was fine. He literally pulled Caleb to his feet by his face mask and walked him to the sideline with one hand on his shoulder pad. My mom grabbed my arm hard enough to leave marks. That's not right. He needs to be checked by medical. She started pushing past people to get down from the bleachers, and I followed her because I knew Caleb. We made it to the fence that separated the stands from the field, just as Coach was sitting Caleb down on the bench. Miss Holloway tried approaching again with her assessment clipboard, but Coach literally stepped between her and Caleb. He's fine, Teresa. Just got his bell rung, but he needs to be evaluated. Protocol requires that I check him for concussion symptoms before he can return to play. Coach's face went red the way it always did when someone questioned him. This is the state championship qualifier. We're up by 4 with 1 quarter left. I'm not pulling my best defensive player because he took a normal hit. The hit wasn't normal, Miss Holloway said quietly. I saw it from the sideline. That was helmet-to-helmet contact with significant force. He needs baseline testing. Brennan turned fully toward her now, and his voice dropped to something that sounded almost friendly but wasn't. You know how much I respect your work, Teresa, but I've been coaching football for 23 years. I know the difference between a real injury and a kid who needs a minute to catch his breath. Caleb's tough. He'll be back in the game before this timeout ends. My mom was yelling now, loud enough that people in the stands turned to look. That's my son, and he needs medical attention right now. Coach glanced up at us with this expression like we were annoying insects buzzing around his championship dreams. Your son is fine, Mrs. Donovan. This is why we don't let parents on the sideline. You don't understand the game. But we could see Caleb from where we stood, maybe 20 feet away through the chain link fence. Another player, his friend Julian, sat down next to him and said something. Caleb turned his head to look at Julian, but the movement was wrong, delayed, like his brain was processing everything through water. Then Caleb threw up. Not much, just leaned forward and puked on his own cleats. This thin stream of yellow bile that splattered on the artificial turf. Julian jumped up and yelled for the trainer, but Coach was already there. He grabbed Caleb by the shoulder pad and pulled him upright. Get him some water. He's nervous about the game, that's all. Some kids get queasy under pressure. Miss Holloway pushed past Coach this time, ignoring his protests, and knelt in front of Caleb. She pulled out a pen light and tried to check his pupils, but Coach yanked her backward by her elbow. I said he's fine. She spun on him with fury in her eyes. He just vomited after taking a head injury. That's a classic concussion symptom. I'm required by law to evaluate him before he returns to play. You want me to tell the state licensing board you prevented me from doing my job? Coach's jaw tightened, but he stepped back. Fine, do your little test, but make it quick. We've got a game to win. The entire stadium was watching now. The ref had stopped the clock for the injury timeout, and both teams were standing on their respective sidelines looking over at the drama unfolding. Miss Holloway went through her assessment quickly, testing Caleb's balance, asking him questions, checking his vision. I couldn't hear what she was saying, but I could see Caleb's responses were slow. When she asked him to stand and walk a straight line, he wobbled after 3 steps and had to catch himself on the bench. Miss Holloway stood up and spoke directly to Coach in a voice loud enough that nearby players could hear. He failed the sideline concussion test. Multiple indicators including nausea, dizziness, photosensitivity, and delayed response time. He cannot return to play tonight and needs to be transported to the hospital for a full evaluation. Coach stared at her for a long moment, and I watched his brain do the math. His best defensive player, the championship qualifier, 4th quarter with a 4-point lead. He looked at the scoreboard, then at the opposing team's sideline where their offense was ready to go back in. Then he looked at Caleb, who was sitting there with his eyes half closed, clearly in no condition to play football. And Coach next choice left me completely speechless. The rest of the story is on my channel or linked below.